The soft early morning sunlight streamed into the kitchen of the white colonial-style house. It was a crisp early September morning, typical of New England. In front of the two-car garage, maple trees just beginning to show their fall colors sparkled in the morning light. "Mom, can you help me with my art homework today?" I turned around at 6-year-old Kevin's voice while preparing breakfast at the counter, wearing an apron over my Navy theory suit. He was already dressed in his uniform with his backpack on. The pearl necklace around my neck glowed softly in the morning sun. "Of course, sweetie. We'll do it after dinner. I'm making pot roast tonight." I gently stroked Kevin's black hair as I answered. He flashed a satisfied smile. My son could draw with remarkable detail for a first grader, and I was so proud of him. "Mom, I got 100% on my math test." 10-year-old Tommy burst into the kitchen, proudly holding up his test paper. My heart swelled with pride seeing my son maintain top grades in his 5th grade class. "That's wonderful. Let's put it on the fridge." "Did you show Dad?" "Yes." Dad was really happy. "I want to be an architect like him when I grow up." Just then, 8-year-old Luke came racing down the stairs with his soccer uniform in hand. He was already making a name for himself as a star player on the school team. "Mom, I have soccer practice after school today. Can you drive me? Coach says he's going to teach us new strategies." "Of course, honey. I'll pick you up at 3. My meeting with the Boston luxury real estate client should be done by 2. I answered while plating scrambled eggs and pancakes. The sweet aroma of maple syrup wafted through the kitchen. As the children sat down at the table, my husband Michael appeared in his gray suit. The few strands of gray mixed in with his black hair only added to his charm. "Good morning, everyone." He kissed me and accepted his coffee. As president of Wilson Architecture, he always kept a busy schedule. "I have a meeting about a new project today. It's a $30 million deal. Good luck, dear. Dinner's at 7. The kids are looking forward to it." I handed out lunchboxes packed with homemade sandwiches to each child as I saw my husband off. Tommy carefully tucked away his math workbook, Luke his soccer cleats, and Kevin his half-finished drawing. This peaceful morning scene would have been unimaginable 10 years ago. I remembered that day when I had a bitter falling out with my sister Patricia over our mother's inheritance. Dressed in luxury brands and successful as a senior VP at an investment bank, she had looked down at me and declared, "I have a valuable life. I make $500,000 a year. You don't deserve any of this. I'll inherit this house too. You couldn't handle it anyway, could you?" We hadn't spoken since then. She inherited most of our mother's estate and completely cut ties with me. She blocked me on social media and avoided any mutual acquaintances. After that, I built my career as a real estate agent and worked my way up to earning $120,000 a year. Then 3 years ago, I met and married Michael, who had 3 children with his late wife Mary, who had passed away from leukemia. Though we're not related by blood, I love those children with all my heart. My smartphone's notification sound interrupted my reminiscing. Looking at the screen, I saw a message from an unexpected sender. "Sister, we need to talk about something important. Let's meet. I've made reservations." Tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Le Soir in Back Bay. The sender was listed as Patricia Thompson. This contact from my sister after 10 years filled me with an ominous feeling. Especially her presumptuous tone in, "I've made reservations," showed her unchanged arrogance. Le Soir in the Back Bay district is one of Boston's finest French restaurants. Baccarat crystal chandeliers cast soft light inside the 19th-century brownstone building facing Newbury Street. Debussy's Clair de Lune played quietly from a Steinway grand piano throughout the elegant space. When I stepped out of my Uber Black in my Navy Theory suit, Patricia was already waiting at the bar counter. She was wearing a deep red Dior dress with a Cartier diamond necklace gleaming at her throat. Her Louboutin heels emphasized her haughty attitude even more. "Oh my, is that suit really appropriate? And isn't that bag looking a bit worn?" Her very first words revealed the same arrogance, unchanged after 10 years. I silently followed the maitre d' to our windowside special table. This restaurant has a 3-month waiting list, you know. But for wealthy clients like me, it's different. "Isn't the view of Boston calm and beautiful from here?" The sommelier respectfully presented the wine list. Patricia ordered Dom Perignon without even glancing at the prices. I was right to invest mother's inheritance. It grew more than tenfold with Tesla stock and Bitcoin. My portfolio is worth over $15 million now. She bragged while sipping her glass. The champagne bubbles sparkled gold in the chandelier light. "I built a mansion in Beacon Hill. With a pool, of course. I have 2 maids too. You couldn't manage that, could you, sister? Newton is a bit too suburban, isn't it?" I silently drank my champagne. On the starch white tablecloth, mother's heirloom Mikimoto pearl necklace glowed quietly. "By the way, I heard about your family. You married a divorced man with children? To think that a Wall Street investment bank VP would have a sister who married such a man." At those words, I finally looked straight into her eyes. Her deep green eyes had lost their former warmth. "Yes, I have 3 wonderful children. They're all very smart and caring." "Well, isn't it hard raising someone else's children? The education costs must be outrageous. Harvard tuition is over $75,000 a year now. For 3 children? Can you do the math?" As the appetizers arrived with French service, my sister's words grew increasingly sharp. In contrast to the delicate taste of the white asparagus mousse, the conversation took on an increasingly hostile tone. The following Tuesday, my sister suddenly visited our house. The children were at school, and I was home alone. Stepping out of her Porsche Cayenne, she scrutinized the house's exterior as if conducting a real estate appraisal. "Nice house. In this area, it must be worth at least $3 million? 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2-car garage. Colonial style, 15 years old. As a real estate agent, you must know the market value, right?" She surveyed our open-concept living room with appraising eyes. Her gaze stopped on the family photos above the fireplace. "The children's education must be expensive? I could make much smarter investments. Why not sell this house and move to a more affordable area? Dorchester has cheap rent, you know." That afternoon at 3 p.m., she also appeared at my workplace, Boston Luxury Real Estate. In our office on the 35th floor of the Prudential Tower, she raised her voice in front of staff during a client meeting. "I'll take away all of Sister's happy life. You don't deserve this lifestyle." Her words carried an icy chill unsuited to September in Boston. Through the high-rise windows, I could see the fall foliage spreading along the Charles River. As my staff looked on in confusion, I quietly left the office. Driving home in my BMW, I wondered, why had my sister broken her 10-year silence? Why was she so obsessed? Since the inheritance dispute, she had completely cut ties with me. She had blocked me on social media and avoided any mutual acquaintances. Then recently, she must have somehow found my Instagram account and seen the happy photos with my family. Posts about Thanksgiving preparations, PTA meetings, charity events. They were tagged with #blessed, #family-love, #stepmom-love. Parking in the garage and heading to the front door, I could see Tommy, Luke, and Kevin doing their homework through the window. Tommy working on math problems, Luke planning strategies for his soccer game, Kevin painting at his easel. This peaceful everyday scene, my sister must be plotting something against it. I sighed deeply, thinking about our second dinner scheduled for tomorrow night. The private room at La Bella Vita was an elegant space decorated with hand-carved wooden panels imported from 16th century Florence. An antique chandelier made in Murano, Italy cast soft light, and Persian carpets covering the floor absorbed all sound. Through the windows, you could see Back Bay's sophisticated cityscape, with Boston Commons autumn trees glowing in the sunset. My sister Patricia arrived again in flashy attire. Waiter. Champagne. 2 bottles of 2008 Dom Perignon. Ice from Antarctic glaciers. And Baccarat Allegria collection glasses. As soon as she entered, she commanded the staff with theatrical gestures and an intimidating attitude, like a Broadway actress. Her $1,500 Christian Louboutin heels rang loudly against the Italian marble floor. Oh my, those pearls look rather cheap. Real celebrities were Van Cleef and Arpels. I sat down silently. The table was set with the finest damask tablecloth flown in from Paris, lined with Baccarat wine glasses. Classical music played quietly from speakers mounted on the walls. You can't normally get reservations for this private room. The room charge is waived for VIPs like me. Your annual salary is about what I make in a week. Oh yes, I enjoyed dinner on Martha's Vineyard last week. As champagne was poured and select caviar was served, my sister gave me a contemptuous look. She took a small spoonful while smiling meaningfully. By the way, your husband is the president of Wilson Architecture, right? He's quite a catch. $350,000 annual income, handsome, and cultured. I met him at the Four Seasons bar last week. We discussed architectural designs for my investment projects. My spine froze. My wedding ring caught a faint glimmer from the chandelier. Why did my sister know so much about Michael? And why had she met with my husband in secret? Actually, I have an important confession. My sister dabbed her mouth with her scarf, taking a dramatic pause. I'm pregnant with your husband's child. At this sudden revelation, my hand stopped. My fork touched the expensive porcelain caviar plate with a slight clink. Mozart's The Magic Flute, playing in the private room, seemed to fade into the distance, as if time had stopped. So get out of that house. I'll start a new family with Michael. I'm much more suitable than you. I have $15 million in assets. Children's education costs are like breakfast money to me. My sister's voice grew increasingly loud, threatening to spill out of the private room. The chandelier's luxurious light highlighted the madness in her eyes. However, I maintained my composure. Then you'll take care of the 3 children too. Tommy, Luke, and Kevin. You'll take over all their education loan payments. My sister's expression froze instantly. Her face turned pale. What? Take the children with you. I only want your husband. Raising children isn't part of my life plan. I smiled as I answered. The pearl necklace inherited from our mother glowed quietly at my neck. That's impossible. Because those children. I'll call the police. I'll say you're holding the children hostage. Besides, I have the best lawyers. My sister completely lost her composure and threw her wine glass to the floor. The sound of shattering crystal echoed through the private room. Deep red wine seeped into the expensive Persian carpet. Just then, there was a knock at the door. "Ma'am," we heard raised voices. At the concerned manager's voice, my sister raised her voice even more. Her expensive makeup was beginning to run with her tears. "Call the police. This woman, she's trying to steal my happiness." I slowly took out my mobile phone. The screen already showed the police emergency call page. Do you really want to call the police? Or would you rather tell the truth? The choice is yours. At my calm voice, my sister flinched for a moment. However, she quickly regained her haughty attitude. Her Botox-frozen expression twisted unnaturally. The truth? It's true that I'm pregnant. I have a doctor's certificate. At that moment, the restaurant door opened, and 2 police officers entered with my husband Michael. "Ms. Patricia Thompson? I'm Detective Johnson, and this is Detective Brown." One of the officers displaying a silver badge addressed my sister. The other surveyed the room, assessing the situation. "This woman is holding children hostage. She's trying to take everything from me." My sister screamed in a half-crazed state. "Patricia." Michael's voice was quiet but carried strong determination. He took out his latest iPhone 15 Pro Max, unlocked the security, and began to swipe through it. His graying black hair stood out against the night view backdrop. I recorded all our conversations. The meeting at the Four Seasons bar, and everything after. "What? That's illegal. My lawyer will." My sister's voice trembled. "Recording is legal in Massachusetts with one party's consent," Detective Brown calmly pointed out. "Including our conversation at the Four Seasons last week. I was suspicious from the moment you approached me under the pretense of discussing a project. Especially when you tried to probe for confidential information about my wife's company." Michael showed the officers a photograph. It showed a young woman lying in a hospital bed. It was his former wife, Mary. Even though she was thin from terminal leukemia, her gentle smile was angelic. Her strength in raising 3 children while working at an insurance company showed through in the photo. "This is my beloved late wife, Mary. Just before she died of leukemia, she was worried about our children's future. Give the children a loving mother, that was her final wish. Next, he took out a family album from an expensive leather case. Each photo contained precious memories. And these are photos from our wedding. The ceremony was at St. Paul's Cathedral. Jennifer has fulfilled Mary's wishes by raising our 3 children as her own. Daily homework, PTA meetings, charity events. She has become the perfect mother. He also presented an obituary from the local Boston Globe. The date was 8 years ago. The headline, "Lost a beloved wife, devoted mother, and sincere insurance advisor," conveyed the sadness of that time. So your pregnancy claim appears to be false and potentially constitutes defamation. My sister's haughty expression crumbled like a sandcastle. Her scarf slipped from her trembling hands onto the Persian carpet. I wanted to take everything, this happiness, from my sister. My sister collapsed into her chair. She had completely lost the dignity of her former position as investment bank VP. I couldn't stand that my sister was happy. 10 years ago, I inherited most of our mother's estate. $5 million. But even that wasn't enough. Because my sister seemed happier than me. The forged clinic certificate lay crumpled on the table, bearing the signature of a non-existent doctor. When I found the happy family photos on my sister's Instagram, I felt like my whole life had been wrong. Just then, the private room door opened again. Breaking the high-end restaurant's silence came bouncing voices. "Mom." The 3 children burst in. Our trusted neighbor babysitter, Mrs. Johnson, followed behind in her Chanel tweed jacket, looking worried. "Tommy, Luke, Kevin. Why?" "Dad called us. He said Mom was in trouble." Tommy answered. His eyes shone proudly. "Jenny is our mom. We don't need another mom. Mom has never missed any of my soccer games." Luke grabbed my hand with the strength he'd built playing soccer, preparing for next week's district tournament. "I love you, Mom. I want to show you the picture I drew today." Kevin hugged me. In those small arms, I felt unconditional love as big as his artistic talent. My sister stared at the scene in a daze. Neither her Cartier jewelry nor her Dior dress held any meaning now. All she saw reflected in her eyes was genuine happiness she could never obtain. Outside the window, the Charles River's surface sparkled in the full moon's light. On Christmas Eve night, our house in Newton glowed with warm light. Logs crackled pleasantly in the fireplace, and ornaments decorated by the children sparkled on the 8-foot Christmas tree. "Mom, are the cookies ready?" Turning at Kevin's voice, I saw him still wearing his apron, paintbrush in hand. On his easel, a family portrait was nearly complete. "In about 10 minutes, sweetheart. Can you finish your drawing by then?" The scent of vanilla and cinnamon wafted from the oven. On the table sat Luke's handmade Christmas card and Tommy's Lego model of the Wilson Architecture office. "Look, it's starting to snow." Michael looked up from the sofa by the fireplace. Outside the window, light snow had begun to fall quietly. Meanwhile, in an old apartment in Dorchester, my sister Patricia was spending Christmas alone in a room that showed no trace of her former luxurious lifestyle. How did it come to this? She took a sip of cheap wine. On the TV screen was news footage reporting her dismissal from the investment bank. Immediate termination due to ethical violations for online defamation. She had lost her Beacon Hill mansion too. Her job search had been unsuccessful. Her prestigious university degree and 20 years of career experience were worthless now due to the social media scandal. She had pawned her luxury brand items and her savings were nearly depleted. "I'm not wrong, it's my sister's fault." But these words lacked their former conviction. The view from her window showed a deteriorating neighborhood. The people she once looked down on were now her neighbors. At our house, we were getting ready to take family photos in front of the fireplace. Everyone smile. After setting the self-timer, I joined the family circle. Tommy held his Math Olympics gold medal, Luke his soccer championship trophy, and Kevin's award-winning painting was displayed beside him. Merry Christmas. As the shutter clicked, the children's smiles burst forth. The scene was just like a Norman Rockwell painting. "Mom, can we open presents?" The children rushed to the tree. I leaned against Michael as we watched them. True happiness can't be bought with money, can it? My husband held my shoulder. Outside, snow was beginning to accumulate, wrapping the street trees in a silver world. At the same time, in her Dorchester apartment, Patricia sat alone with her smartphone open. #WilsonFamily #Merry Christmas. She stared for a long time at the family photo my sister had posted. Luxurious Christmas decorations, homemade treats, and above all, the happy family smiles. Swallowing her words, she turned off her smartphone. In the room, only a microwave-heated dinner for one sat lonely. Outside, the snow continued to fall, quietly enveloping the contrast between the two places. Happy family laughter echoed through the Newton house, while lonely silence filled the Dorchester apartment. 3 months after everything ended. That winter in Boston, two lives had begun walking their separate paths.